the possibility of sex being more than just a physical act.
Hi everyone, welcome to Izwelami. My name is Natasha.
And my name is Kumo. Thank you for joining us once again. Today we have a very special guest, and we're going to be talking about sexual healing, which we really think is part of a self-care series. And we have Tumelo Moreri today, and who is going to introduce herself to us. Hi, Tumi, how are you?
Hey, and hi everyone that's watching. I'm good. Hey, I'm so happy to be getting into this conversation with you guys. Yeah.
So could you please just introduce yourself to us? What specifically do you do? What do you want to be recognized as? What is your body of work? What is important to you?
I love that. I love how you ask it. I am Tumelo Moreri, and I am a sacred leadership coach. So I'm a coach for African women and men leaders. I'm a medicine woman, meaning that I'm a healer. And my current body of work is on sex, sexuality, and pleasure. And it's quite vast work. And Kumo and we got into a conversation about doing this conversation because of the podcast I recently launched. The podcast is also on sex, sexuality, and pleasure. And that podcast is part of like my entire body of work. I also do like live streaming. I also write on my blog, and that's really just part of my coaching business. And I also have like coaching programs for people who want to go deeper into this work. So yeah, it's quite vast work, and yeah, there's always an opportunity to go even deeper, in a private space and etc. Yeah.
So what inspired this? Like what happened? Was there a specific event? Was there an observation?
Yeah, you mean like for me to finally step into this like this current body of work?
The current body of work which you do, first in the writing about sexuality and sexual healing.
Okay. Yeah, I love that question. I love it. Like it's a question that I get asked a lot, because for those who might know, like I have an actuarial science background. Like I studied actuarial science and mathematical statistics, and I think sometimes people go like, "Whoa, is that the same to me that we knew at varsity?" And so there was always this part of me that I guess not a lot of people were aware of, like even just me articulating that I'm a healer, I think that might not be something that a lot of people are aware of, but like that's been something that's been unfolding for years. Like the work on sex, sexuality, and pleasure, it started with my own personal journey and personal healing around this area, going back to 2015. So in 2015, I just started getting curious about the possibility of sex being more than just a physical act. I remember one night asking Google, so what's the spiritual significance of sex? And that started within me a whole dialogue about the sacredness of sex, just the possibility of it being so much more than what we currently think of it as a human race. So it's been 5 years of just, it was an unintentional journey. Like it's a huge part of my calling. And I guess, yeah, it would have happened unintentionally, So I was just studying sex, sexuality, pleasure, unaware even. And so one day my own coach was like, but Jimmy, do you see that this is the work that you're called to do with the leader? And it took a bit of there was initially some resistance, because I mean, this is sex, and it's something that we don't talk about in our society. So there was
Yeah.
initially some resistance of, oh my God, what's my leadership community gonna think of me? What are the people that I went to varsity gonna think of me now, talking about sex and vaginas? But it's the calling, and eventually, yeah, I said yes to doing the work. And I mean, you might know, you might have heard stories of people saying yes to that calling. Once you say yes, like, it even starts to show. You start to glow, you start to feel good, you're in alignment. So um gosh, there's a lot to say about it, but in a nutshell, that's it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's really amazing, right? And the conversation can take us anywhere. So what I want to know is, like, you speak about healing and then sex and sexuality and pleasure all in the same like conversation. So what is the connection between that? You know, what is the connection between healing and sex, and what's the significance of it?
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna keep saying, oh my God, I love this question, because you ladies are asking me awesome, beautiful questions. So like I'll also keep referring to us as like humanity, meaning society. So where we currently find ourselves at as a human collective, as a human race, is in an experience where sex is taboo. Sexuality is not something that we allow ourselves to experience with freedom, with liberty. Like, our socialization is one that teaches us to almost deny our sexuality, almost deny our sexual desires, almost deny the fact of us being sexual beings. Yeah. And so this is why sex is something that is not easily spoken about in our society. Even intimate couples struggle to talk about sex because of what the socialization has been. Part of the socialization. The socialization then is one that it is one that facilitates the forming of beliefs. So human beings have beliefs around everything, around sex, around sexuality, around pleasure, around money, right? And so for us as human beings, mostly the belief is that sex is not to be spoken about. It's supposed to be hidden. Sex is bad. Sex is a sin. Pleasures of the body are going to take me to purgatory, are going to take me to sin. I can't be enjoying pleasure. I can't be enjoying myself. Like, that's the socialization, right? And even pleasure, like for me, the work around pleasure is more than just sexual pleasure. It's about you doing the work that lights you up. It's about you choosing the career path of your heart. But that's not something that we're taught in our society. It's about you making money in ways that are joyful for you, right? But the current belief structure is that no, you must struggle to make money, and money is evil, and abundance, if you're going to make money, you're not going to have like a loving husband, etc., right? So part of the healing is in just healing some of these beliefs, and the healing work is of returning ourselves to wholeness, to ourselves, to our natural rhythm, to our natural being, where we know that our sexuality and our being sexual beings, like, it's a very natural aspect of who we are, right? So when we heal, then we begin to experience our sexuality with great abandon and with freedom. Then we are not so much ashamed of our bodies anymore. We can easily take off our clothes in front of our partners. We can tell them what we want. We are not ashamed of being a woman and clearly articulating what you want. When we are coming from a healed space, then a woman can tell a man, this is what I want, without being afraid of being shamed, of loving sex too much, of being a slut, of being a whore. Like, that's what we're healing. Like these twisted and these very painful beliefs around sex and pleasure and sexuality. Then we don't get out of the closet if we're lesbian or gay, right? Then it just is if I'm a girl and I love women, then it's not something I would have to get out of the closet about. But where we are right now, in our society, it's something I have to like call a family meeting. Why is it that heterosexuals don't have to call a family meeting and say, I'm a girl and mom, I actually love boys? That doesn't happen. But if I'm a girl and I love a girl, then I have to call a meeting. Why? You know? So part of the healing is that, like, just for us to just be like, let our bellies loose and just be, you know? Yeah.
So, do you think there's a specific trend amongst like people of color in which we find it very difficult to be in tune with our sexuality? Yeah, I think that's the question. Do you specifically, maybe people of color struggle more to kind of like voice out, especially like Black women voice out kind of like their desires and being in tune with their sexuality? And also, which would be interesting, right? Because like we're so hypersexualized in society, but we're the complete opposite of that. And I think I want to know if there's a pattern there or a trait, or do they feed into each other? I don't know if my question makes sense.
No, it does make sense. So it would be a trend that I'm not acutely yet aware of, right? It's just a suspicion. But what I've been finding with sex and sexuality is that for men and women, both of color or Caucasian, from wherever in the world, like, it is a common experience that just as human beings, we do experience sex with a lot of shame, with a lot of embarrassment, with a lot of guilt, right? But like, obviously, like, the experiences would be nuanced, like, for different race groups and for different genders. But like right now, like, it's not one that I'm able to fully like speak to, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would suspect that it is there. I've been in conversation with a number of people, you know, just asking about their experiences. And sure, because when we speak about sex, so like the initial, what we usually think is that men are okay. Like, like, men are okay. Men are not okay. Even when we talk about our patriarchal society, sure, like, men are the primary beneficiaries of patriarchy, right? But there are ways in which the patriarchy is also wounding for them, you
Definitely.
know? So when a man is feeling a lot of shame because he's not able to get an erection, like, that's patriarchy doing the work of saying, if you're a man, you should be able to perform sexually, like, you shouldn't be having erectile dysfunction. If you are, there's something wrong with you as a man, you are not a man, you know?
Yeah.
So the scope of my work is quite holistic in that I really want to look at how our socialization in this patriarchal society is affecting everyone. But obviously, like, the experiences are not the same, right? The struggles are not the same. A woman would be socialized to fake an orgasm. A man would be socialized, I don't know, to pretend something, you know, to pretend he's got it, even when he isn't, you know. It's the weirdest thing.
So, Demi, I mean, yeah, no, the part around patriarchy is so true, right? And I think always when we look at stuff, it's always from a woman's perspective because they are almost oppressed, always, right, in this institution. But men also go through the same thing. But if I am experiencing some kind of like lack of fulfillment or whatever, and I need to heal, like, how do I recognize and how do I start the journey of healing? Like, the connection between whatever is missing, the wholeness that is missing in my life, and the fact that I'm not able to achieve orgasms, for example. Like, you know, how do I start that journey?
Wow. like as I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh my God. So like one obviously has to be aware that they can experience better, you know? So like you're talking about experiencing wholeness, right? And I'm sitting here thinking like one actually has to almost first, and it doesn't have to be a full appreciation, but maybe just suspect that I can have more, you know? um and what we find in our society right now is that like we take things at face value, like we take things as they're handed to us. Like for many women, the belief around sexual pleasure is that women are not deserving of sexual pleasure, right? Like that's why some women would fake orgasms, because she believes the pleasure is for the man. Like if he has penetrated me and he's had his climax, oh, it's cool vibes, you know? Not a lot of us know that there's more, that we can experience sexual abundance, you know? um, but like say if in a case where one is aware that more is possible, and where they're experiencing lack, then that would be an opportunity just to start exploring themselves as 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 sexual beings, to start exploring their own sexuality. Um, so like this is also like deeply spiritual work, right? And hmm, let me find the words. So our individual experiences, the experiences that we have in our lives, are usually a reflection of our core beliefs around what is possible in life, around what we're deserving of. Yeah, basically around what's possible, right? So when you're coming from that place and you're finding that you're experiencing lack anywhere, like that is feedback from all of the universe, from yourself, about the beliefs that you hold about life, about what is possible, right? So the invitation is usually always back to self, to say if I'm not experiencing abundance in this particular area, what are the beliefs that might be informing my life that are resulting in me not experiencing abundance, right? So I mean, I do this work, I coach people, I hold healing space for people to do this work. And I also, like, I'm a human being, I've been raised in this society, so I need to do some healing as well. I've been doing it for 5 years and I'm still doing it, right? And as I explore myself, I realize that, oh, maybe at one particular point, I might not have been having as much sex in my life as I desired, right? That is feedback. Like that is feedback about what I believe about sex, what I believe about pleasure. Ooh, it's so multi-layered. I'll give an example, right? So it could be something as simple as not getting laid or not having as much sex as you want, right? Another level would be maybe not getting an orgasm or faking orgasms, right? So multi-layered. So in the case of a woman who's not getting as she really wished she could, well, first she has to come to the realization that I actually want more sex in my life, right? And then she would go another layer. Why is it that I'm not getting laid? So for me, when I did the inner work, it took me back to my first menstrual experience, where I was told that, oh, now that you're menstruating, you're having your menses, if you play with boys, you're gonna fall pregnant, right? So it equated sex with pregnancy. And there was always this fear that, oh my God, if I have sex, I'm gonna fall pregnant. Whether I had contraception, it's a belief that sits deep in your psyche, and then it informs how you show up in life, in your life experiences, without you even being aware, right? So for me, that's what came up. And every time I would have sex, then I would get a pregnancy scare. My sister, whether I had a loop and then a condom on top of that, it would be just like frantic. The week after that, like I'm sick. I'm afraid. What if I'm pregnant, right? And obviously that will inform whether I actually allow myself to attract and to manifest like more sex in my life. Because I'm afraid I'll fall pregnant, you get. So gosh, I hope that answers your question. So like the invitation is just for me initially is look in, like look at the place from which you're creating and manifesting your outward life experiences.
Sure. I'm sitting here reflecting on my own experiences. So
Yeah.
my question is, because you started off by saying like that's what motivated your interest. Is there a connection between sex and spirituality? And is it so?
Okay.
So I've always kind of received like a very fearful perspective of it, right? People talking about soul ties and that no, you shouldn't be sleeping with multiple people because their souls stay with you. And I'm always just like, why don't they take those souls with them? Because I'm okay with my own soul. But please just create a fear of you being sexual and being able to have sex with many people as you want as a woman because you're connecting these soul tiles and so what is the connection between sex and spirituality, and do soul tiles exist, and yeah, like people's souls inside me.
Wow. Yeah, that broke my heart a bit. Like I don't like how we human beings create so much fear around this thing that is so beautiful and so pleasuring and so joyful and so joyous and so magical. Like, yeah, if we understood like the potency of sex, like we would just allow ourselves to experience it with delight and with gay for abundance, right? So yeah, this thing of soul ties, it has come up in a podcast conversation I had with a gentleman. He was specifically saying, oh my God, like I don't want to step into the spirituality of it because people believe in all sorts of things like soul ties and all of that, right? So what I do know is that we are energetic beings, right? So everything is energy. We're energetic beings. And when we have sex with someone, it's more than just the physical coming together. We come together spiritually and energetically as well, right? And we'll definitely live like just oof, like the sexual union, like it's both a union at body level and at spirit level as well. Like we literally become one, right? But yeah, like I don't believe that like somebody leaves a part of their soul with you. But what I believe they live with you is the energetic imprint, right? It's like, yeah, like have you ever noticed when maybe you're with a friend and they're in a really foul mood, right? They're in not in a good mood, and then they tell you how they're feeling, like they just offload off you, like obviously with permission, right? Like you might find that how they were feeling, like it affects your own energetic vibration, right? Like initially you might have been feeling so excited, right? And then they tell you all these sad news, and then you feel yourself just going, duh, right? Because like there's an energetic exchange, right? And actually like sex could be considered as an acronym, sex. It's a synergistic energy exchange, right? We're exchanging energy, but it's a different level. Sometimes we exchange chemical energy, right? Where the sperm enters my body and then the ovum and the sperm become fused and become one thing, right? And so in that moment, we do become one and we exchange energy, right? And whatever energy that person might have been carrying, they can leave some of that with you, right? And this is why I personally have chosen that I will sleep with one person at a time. And because I don't want to bring like multiple energies at the same time, you know. And what I also prefer is to sleep with someone who is sleeping with me alone and not with anybody else. Because if I sleep with someone, it means I've hung around you, I have felt your energy, and it's okay for me. It's energy that I'm willing to have like fuse with my own energy. You get. And when you're sleeping with somebody and I don't know who they're sleeping with, I haven't felt their energy, so it means I haven't chosen them for myself, right? So yeah, that mm. and I just want to add something to it there, because like earlier we were talking about how we tend to like take things at face value. Like if we're told that it's wrong to have multiple partners, we take it as true, but actually I don't like how we do with that, right? I would prefer if we go experience a thing for yourself, right? Like if you're told that, like wait, like tell me why it is wrong for you to have multiple partners, right? Not because the Bible said it's wrong, not because society says it's wrong. No, like, and this is the work I do with my clients of just freeing yourself. If you're going to arrive at a place where you decide you want only one man to sleep with, right? There better be a reason that is coming from your heart, that is coming from your spirit. You understand? And that's the only way that you'll actually be faithful to anyone. Like if faithful is a thing, right? When 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 the conviction is flowing from within you, when you know what it means to you, when you know why it's important to you, right? Yeah. So I know
Sure.
I've said quite a bit.
You're
To your
just dropping
question.
bombs and bombs and bombs and bombs. I'm just loving your responses. But to me, like a big question, right, is, and you know, it could be that it's because of society and whatever. But because I'm in a relationship, do I necessarily, or do we necessarily, me and my partner, need to have sex for us to be intimate, right? Like I know, you know, people will be like, yeah, but if you're not having sex, then you guys don't love each other, or you know, they're starting to detach or whatever it is. Again, that fear, right? But like, do we need to have physical penetration to show our love?
Wow. You see, my sisters, these stories that we form around sex, yay, they create a lot inner turmoil for a lot of us, you know? Like when we start asking, is it okay? Is it wrong? Is it, you know? Then like those are the stories in control. Like then the stories are at the like they're at the driver's seat, controlling how we show up in life, how we show up in relationships, right? I feel like two people get to decide. Actually, not two people. You get to decide what you want a relationship to look like and you how you want it to flow like, right? If you're not feeling like engaging sexually, that's where you're at, right? And if you find a partner who is not on that vibe, then it's possible that you're not in alignment, like you're not on the same page, right? Then wouldn't it be nice to go find somebody who will be on the same page with you? And if as a woman you are somebody who wants to meet a man right now and have sex right now, then wouldn't it be nice to go find somebody that you can, you know, get down with right now? But if you're a woman who wants to let's get to know each other first and see how we flow, how is that not a right experience, you know? So, and I spoke briefly about this on my podcast last week, that at some point in our history, people wrote down things about what the human experience is supposed to look like, how it's supposed to feel like they put it down. They're like, no, like you should experience yourself this way. But what we're finding is that like we get our own natural urges. Like we have the human lived experience that actually serves as almost like as hmm, it's not feedback, it's not evidence, but like it shows us where we are at, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes we find that the lived experience, what we're desiring, does not match what somebody in history said or wrote
Mm,
about
yeah,
what the human experience is supposed to be like. And those two things clash, right?
yeah,
Um, and the human, I feel like your body knows, your spirit knows, your soul knows what you're desiring to experience. And usually we want to go against that because no, someone 2000 years ago wrote that this is how I'm supposed to experience my body like. But you have feedback right now in jail, like your body is telling you, I desire that man who's walking at the mall and I want to go get his
yeah,
number, right?
yeah,
So then instead of standing up and go asking the man for the number, you're like, you sink into the story of a woman is not supposed to approach a man. If I approach a man,
yeah.
he's going to think I'm forward and he's not going to love me as much and he's going to cheat me. And like, what? Girl, ask for the number. Tell the man you want to sleep with him right now, right? If that's what you desire, like, oh God, these stories, they make me so mad.
Yeah.
Wow. Sure. I know somebody might be asking, so Timmy, are you saying we must do everything? Like just go wild. Um, so like you know your truth, one, right? Like you also know your values. Like you know how you'd for your life to feel for you. And for me, also values and them to be so inspired to be coming from in you, right? Like if you value one-on-one companionship, it has to flow from deep within you, right? So yeah, we get to go wild, and we get to live in alignment with our highest values, right? Like what you want your life to look like. I know some people might be scared that I'm saying our world should be chaotic, that we must just do whatever we want. You do whatever you want without infringing on the next person's personal rights, you know, without hurting the next person. Like we don't want to be hurting other people. That's why you get a partner who also wants what you want, right? Yeah, so that you're just in alignment. You're not causing hurt to the next person. You're not infringing on the free will of the next person. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
This actually reminds me of reading Dr. T's book on sexual pleasure and sexual revolution, and I really think everyone should really really read that book because it's honestly, I mean, just in terms of even just because I don't think it helps much with you kind of learning how to push yourself in navigating a situation where you're also able to tell a person this is what I want, but at least you know for yourself how to give that to yourself, how to be in tune with your body and and be happy and pleasure yourself, right? So that maybe you're getting to a closer step to being able to say to someone, yeah, but this is what I want because I know that this is what I like because I'm able to do it to myself.
yeah.
So she says something interesting about orgasms. And so I want to find out, are orgasms important? Do we have to have orgasms all the time? Or can sex be kind of like we're having sex and an intimate and we don't really get to an orgasm, but it was still a pleasurable experience? Or do we have to is this like the ultimate goal?
Wow, I love that. I still want to take back to I still want to take it back to um having our experiences like being inspired from within, right? Um and it's usually great when, and like this is why we do healing work. It's usually great when they're coming from a healed space, and by healed space I mean from a place of wholeness, like from a place of having returned to yourself, from a place of like sitting within your truth, sitting with your power as a spiritual being, right? So that like your experience is not clouded by these limiting beliefs, this limiting socialization, our human conditioning, right? And so then someone can then answer the question of Kumo, as an African woman, do you want to experience an orgasm in your sexual interactions, right? Then Kumo can speak for herself. Like, I don't believe it needs to be a prescribed type of thing to say, like orgasms are beautiful. yo, yeah, like that's
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
whole other level, right? Of the human experience of getting to experience pleasure, right?
And
So they're
sorry,
delicious, they're exquisite, yeah.
Mm.
But
sorry, I just
like,
want
mm,
my network.
yeah,
Interesting
go
about
on.
orgasms is that our entire lives were convinced that because of the movies that you're eventually going to have an orgasm with someone who you love, and it's going to be amazing in a beachfront of your wedding night and whatever. And I was shocked that my first orgasm happened with someone I was not in love with. I had no intentions to be with him, no future. And I left there, I was like, wow, okay.
But those are the stories, you see, like it's a story that, like a narrative, it creates a particular narrative that you can only experience an orgasm in this way. And the lived experience tells you that, my sister, not necessarily, right?
Yeah.
So are orgasms important? I think the question would be, like, do you want an orgasm yourself, right? Do you want an orgasm at, like, at every, like, in all your sexual encounters? And if that's what you want, let's ask the gods for that, right? Let's ask the partner for that, to say, yo, bruh, like, or hey, girl, I want an orgasm all the time. So let's make it happen. And also, like, the idea of orgasm all the time, we also need to go see where it's coming from. Like, is it also informed by the movies, that say, or by porn that say you can get an orgasm? What if your body is not? What if, like, in that moment, you're not fully seated in your body, you're not comfortable in that relationship to actually surrender to pleasure, you know? And yeah, the conversation around orgasms as well. Like, it's a conversation, it's a conversation, like, it intertwines with the conversation on pleasure, right?
Yeah.
Because pleasure is so much more than the orgasm, like, so much more. But wow. But because we don't get taught this in our society, like, we don't have conversations about pleasure, then we end up thinking, like, we are orgasm chasing. Like, we tend to be orgasm chasing in our sexual interactions. Like, that becomes the goal. But
Yeah.
you can experience so much pleasure even before or even without the orgasm. You get, like, you could make love for an entire 2 hours and be experiencing deep pleasure in those 2 hours, that then culminates with an orgasm, right? And this is also part of the work. Like you'd probably be aware of experiences where, like, a man just wants to come inside of you, have his ejaculation, and then get out. So I want to explore why that is the case, right? Why is it that our boys think sex is about ejaculation, right? It's the socialization. He can experience so much pleasure even without the ejaculation, right? But if the ejaculation is important, let the man have the ejaculation, in agreement with the partner, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, it's not a clear brown or white or yes or no. Like, it's so nuanced. And we also want to come back to our truth about what we know, what we intuitively know about this thing.
Yeah.
Away from the stories, away from the conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I hope I've answered your question. Okay.
You said something, and I'm just giggling to myself here. Like, are you ready to surrender to pleasure?
Right?
Yeah.
That is so powerful. That
Yeah.
is so powerful. But honestly, this is such an amazing conversation. But just before we wrap up, people will be sitting and be like, okay, but how do I get in touch with you? Like, where do I even start? How do we get in contact with you if, we want to connect and, start the healing process or just understand, where we need to start from?
Okay. So yeah, people can connect with my work on different levels. So I have the podcast. I do weekly interviews, weekly solo casts. And the podcast, like, is a sacred space for conversation and healing on sex, sexuality, and pleasure. Yeah, people can get hold of that. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, Tumelo Moreri on both Facebook and Instagram. And I also have a website, tumelomoreri.com. The website would actually be the best place to go to, and then it'll guide you to the different places.
Yeah.
And on the website, on the website also sits my coaching offers. Like if somebody wants to do like healing, just if you have a sense that something might be off and you want to do something about it, or like you want to deeply explore your sexuality, you want to experience more than what you might even be aware of, yeah, go to my website, tumelomoreri.com. Yeah, there are free resources there as well. I have an online library with workbooks for somebody who wants to explore this a bit more deeply. So yeah, the online library, the podcast, I have a Facebook group, Reclaiming Your Erotic Sexuality. Those are like the places where people can access my work for free, right? And if you want to go deeper, then you can sign up for my coaching programs on my website. Yeah. And on the website, there's my email address there as well. So yeah.
Awesome. That's really amazing. But thank
Yeah.
you so much for the time you've taken. I know you're situated in Bods, but like thank you so much for the time you've given us today just to talk about sex, sexuality, and pleasure. It's really been. I mean, I was blushing also because that's just how I've been conditioned to think about sex.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
it really is a freeing conversation for us to have, and so many nuggets that we can take away from this conversation. So thank you so much for your time.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you,
Such a
everyone.
pleasure.
And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Specifically, we'd really, really love to hear everyone's comments about this conversation. Yeah, thank you for joining us, Demi. We appreciate it.
It was such a joy. Hey, and thank you for for having invited me and for having created the space for women and men to have these conversations. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been an absolute honor. Thank you.